Whenever you think of some of the best teams in the NFL to ever play, there's one thing that they all have in common. They had nightmarish amounts of talent. Well, when it comes to the 2024 season, do the Detroit Lions qualify as such a scary team? We're going to talk about it in this episode, folks. Don't you dare go away.
What are we? What makes us what we are? And what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So, here's the thing, folks. Why are we talking about this episode today? The reason why we're talking about this episode is because I want you all to think about this really quickly. Think about some of the greatest teams that have ever been assembled in the NFL's history. Think about a team like the 1989 49ers, the 1999 Rams, 1978 Steelers, maybe the 1991 Redskins. Definitely at the top of that list would probably be the 1972 Dolphins. Whatever the case might be. The point of the matter is that you would most typically think of teams like that. They almost instantly come to mind, right? And the reason why is because these are special teams. These are teams that will forever stand out in the annals of, NFL history. That's how good of those types of teams we're talking about here. Now, apart from the success that each one of those teams that I just, named off, they all share one other common point of reference other than the success that they had. And that was and is the fact that when they played, when those teams were assembled, they were frighteningly talented teams to their opponents. These were teams that, quite simply put, no one at the time they played at wanted to play opposite of them. Nobody wanted to line up opposite of them. On Sunday, Thursday, I don't care what day it was. They simply were a team that were so nightmarishly, so over-talented that opponents that had to line up opposite of them already knew the chances were they were going to get their asses kicked and it was going to be a long afternoon. Now, think about this, folks. Why are we talking about this in regards to the Detroit Lions? The reason I'm discussing this is because I believe that the Detroit Lions are currently such a team that in 2024 could actually fall into this category. I believe they could join that list of teams that I just mentioned. And let me just put this out there. Here's the reason why I think that is the case for this team. Because you have to think about what this team has, just in the broadest sense of the word. This is a team that has the devastating effect of a hammer, but also has the precision and deadly swiftness of a scalpel. That's what this team has. That's what the Detroit Lions going into 2024 have. They have brute strength, but at the same time, they are deadly surgical as well. This is a team that has the best of both worlds. Now, moving on off that point, why do I say this? Well, we have to understand what the Lions have from both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. When you take a look at the offense, there are a couple of ways you could look at this offense. The first thing I like to call the offense is you can either call the offense the Goffense, or you could call the offense another name that I just recently came up with in a previous episode, which I like to call the Rhythm and Blues offense. If you all haven't watched that episode, I highly recommend you go back and watch it because you get a very good insight into why I call the Lions offense the Rhythm and Blues offense. But that's for a different episode for y'all to go back and watch. We're just going to go with what we know. At one time, the Lions offense was considered a kind of an amusing name to call it the Goffense. And the reason why is because, well, let's consider who runs that offense. Jared Goff is the quarterback. Well, like I said, The Detroit Lions are an offense, or a team rather, pardon me, that has both brute ability and physicality like a hammer, but yet they are so deadly and surgical like a scalpel. Well, think about it. A scalpel is precise. A scalpel is sharp. A scalpel is deadly. Well, think about how this Detroit Lions offense has been. It has quick strike capability of a rattlesnake, but at the same time, it has the deadly effect of being punched in the mouth with freaking all brute force you can imagine. And it definitely reflects in how explosive and productive the Lions offense has been. Let me just put this in perspective for you all. I'm just going to put up on the screen the Lions offense in 2022 and 2023 based upon all the categories that I have. There's a lot of them. But what you're going to notice really quickly and almost certainly right away is this. The Lions offense over the last 2 years, first and foremost, has seen a jump, an improvement from what it was in 2022, and certainly a couple of categories to 2023. But overall, the offense of the Lions from 2022 to 2023 has proven that it is a great offense, that it has the capability to be one of the best ever assembled. You're looking at an offense that has multiple top 10 ratings, multiple top 5 rankings. This is an offense that, as I said, very, very deadly, very good at what it does. Now, consider this. The Lions had a top 5 offense in both 2022 and 2023. And actually, in 2023, it was more close to a top 3 offense, pardon me. And this was accomplished, think about this, for 2022 and 2023, top 5 offense 2022, top 3 offense 2023. This was all accomplished with this being in mind. In 2022, you have a rookie offense coordinator in Ben Johnson. In 2023, you have a completely revamped running back room. In 2023, you also have a rookie running back. In 2023, you have a rookie tight end. Then you have to think about how the wide receiver room for the Detroit Lions had inconsistent backup wide receiver help. Think about it. In 2022 and 2023, the starting wide receiver is Amon-Ra St. Brown. But outside of Josh Reynolds, we were constantly switching in wide receivers to figure out who was going to be the next guy after Josh Reynolds. Jamison Williams has not quite caught up yet. But we also looked at guys like DJ Chark. Khalif Raymond has kind of filled in here or there, but he's now mostly regulated to kind of like a special teams role. But he still can help out in the offense. The point of the matter is that what I'm trying to get at is the Lions offense maintained its ability to be so good despite having so many wide receivers filling in and out throughout the last 2 years. And then on top of that, not only do you have a rookie offensive coordinator, you have a new offensive scheme and system that got implemented in 2022 as well. But yet, like I said, top 5 offense in 2022, top 3 offense in 2023. Despite these obstacles that the Lions offense had to deal with, the offense was an absolute juggernaut between 2022 and 2023. I've already proven that beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now, the Lions are looking to expand their offensive prowess going into 2024, which I fully expect they're going to do. And in which many of all these issues have been addressed, and some are even better than what they were last year. Think about this, folks. Take a look at the Lions offensive line. We already know this. The Lions offensive line is better, it's stronger than what it was last year. Obviously, the Lions offensive line, the starting unit, is for the most part maintaining itself for another year. The only difference is that Jonah Jackson is no longer with us. Pardon me. But Kevin Zeitler is a better guard than Jonah Jackson was. That's number one. Number two, you have to think about the fact that the Lions retained most of their offensive starters from 2023 going into 2024. The only other guy other than Jonah Jackson that we didn't retain was Josh Reynolds. Other than that, we have all the same players that we had from 2023. So again, you've now maintained an offensive unit for the most part that was successful as a top 3 unit in 2023, and now it's coming into 2024 with pretty much the exact same pieces. And then think about this. I've talked about this before on a couple of different episodes. But Most of the starters that the Detroit Lions have on offense right now, they're either entering their third year into the system, and some are entering into their second year. The point of the matter is that there are many of the guys that are starters on the offense that have already been together in this offensive scheme for several years. The only guy that realistically does not fall into that category is Kevin Zeitler, because we just added him. But other than that, everybody else has at least been in the system for 2 years, and now going into either their third year or going into their fourth year. Think about that, folks. That is very impressive. Or sorry, going into their second year, going into their third year. Pardon me, I got my numbers mixed up. But here's what I have to say about this. When you have an offense that has this much continuity, has this much chemistry, view it from this context just to simplify matters. You have the best offensive line in NFL right now. You have the best offensive coordinator in the NFL right now. You have a top 7, top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. You have the best running back duo in the NFL right now. You have a top 10 wide receiver, almost top 5 wide receiver, arguably, in Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you have a top 3 tight end. Think about it, folks. There is nary a freaking weak spot on this offense. In fact, if you realistically want to think the weakest spot on the offense is the wide receiver depth. Other than that, we're sitting damn pretty. And when it comes to the wide receiver depth, I don't think we're nearly as weak as some people would like to call us to be. I think we're actually in a pretty good spot. But that's a different conversation all later. Why is this important? Why are we talking about the offense the way we are? Well, the reason why we're talking about it the way we are, the reason why it is important for what it is because of this. The Lions' defensive opponents that we're getting set to play in 2024, they're a little light in stopping power in comparison to what the Lions' offense was in 2023. I'm just going to put this up on the screen, and hopefully I'm able to get it to look the way I want it to, and if not, I do apologize. But think about this, folks. I'm going to put up all of the opponents that we have, which I think are like the first 8 or so games that we have, all the way up to the Packers. If you think about it, most of the teams that we're playing have some sort of weakness that the Lions can exploit heavily, whether it's the pass or the run, sometimes even both. If you realistically think about it, out of that list of teams and numbers and rankings and everything, I'm going to simplify it all for you. When it comes to teams that we have that are bad in both run and pass defense from 2023, you take a look at the Cardinals, you take a look at the Seattle Seahawks. They were terrible in both. When you take a look at teams that were bad as a passing defense, you have the Bucs, you have the Titans, you have the Vikings, you have the Rams. The only team that's realistically primarily just bad as a run defense from 2023 was the Packers. But my whole point is this. Pretty much every single team on that list from 2023 had something about their defense that the Lions could exploit and could take very good advantage of. The only team that for the most part really doesn't have some sort of an advantage point on defense is realistically the Cowboys. But let's think about it, folks. We pretty much beat the Cowboys last year, if not for Brad Allen cheating us out of the game. But I'm not going back there. I'm still hot under the collar from that one. Anyway. The whole point is that when you take a look that, how do I put this? We overall had a good statistical unit from last year. We had one of the top 3 units. And outside of, like I said, the Cowboys, we should be able to win every single game virtually without much of a problem. And again, the only reason why I'm saying the Cowboys is because, well, Brad Allen cheated us out of those 2 points, like I said. And we were only down by 1 point. So my point is that, hey, the Cowboys are going to be one of the more difficult opponents that we have to play. But that does not mean we can't beat them. I fully expect that we can. And considering the fact we've got a bone to pick with them, we have a score to settle with them, I fully expect that we can beat them. So what I'm trying to say is this. Could the Lions go 8-0 for the beginning of the year? Yes, they could. But I think if we want to be more realistic, 6-2 might be more realistic. But 8-0 is not out of the realm of possibilities. Now, I'm just going to say this. That's the offense. However, outside of the Lions' offense, that's not the only thing that's being brought to the table. The Lions' defense has also been renovated, and it's also been invigorated. Because think about it. I've talked about this in the past as well. The Lions 3-1-3 defense. When you take a look at the 3-1-3 defense and understand it for what I called it in that entire episode, the Lions' 3-1-3 defense is well on its way to also showing what it can do. First and foremost, you have the attitude, you have the mindset that I talked about. But again, we cannot overlook, we cannot underestimate, the massive amounts of investments in the offseason that the Lions made to the defense. First and foremost, let's just take a look at the secondary that got the majority of the investments. You drafted the best cornerback arguably in the draft in Terry and Arnold. You drafted a solid number 2 in Enos Rakestraw. You traded for a very solid veteran in Carlton Davis. You signed arguably the best run stuffer in the league in DJ Reader. You've added all these players to help out a defense that last year was number 2 in the rush defense and to fix the passing defense. So think about it. Those 4 players alone that I've talked about, they will have a massive impact on the defense and for obvious reasons. Obviously, for the pass defenders that I'm talking about, Arnold, Rakestraw, and Davis, they are there to stop the freaking Detroit Lions passing defense from being continually carved up. But DJ Reader is going to add yet another body in the middle of that defensive line to make our run defense even more suffocating, which is going to help out our linebackers, which is going to help out the defense overall. Now, why is talking about the Lions' defense important? Well, you have to think about this, folks. Again, I'm not trying to dog on the times of the past. I've done that more times than I care to recollect. But quite a number of games that the Lions lost last year were due more to defensive collapses, in my opinion. I'm going to place heavy emphasis on that, in my opinion, rather than offensive ones. Let's think about it, folks. Go back to the Seattle Seahawks game. The Seattle Seahawks game, the defense gave up 31 points. The Ravens game, we gave up 38 points on defense. The 49ers game, we gave up 34 points on defense. Now, understand, I'm going to make this very crystal clear as possibly I can. I'm not saying that the offense didn't fail as well in games like that. But if you realistically want to think about it, if the defense had played a little bit better, save maybe the Ravens game, because our offense couldn't do anything in the Ravens game, if you think about it, if the defense had played a little bit better in games like the Seattle Seahawks game or the 49ers game, those are games that we should have won because our offense was able to play that good. Now, getting past the semantics of who's to blame in those games. In most of the losses that we had, I will say this, that most people can agree upon this. It was because the pass defense was often the culprit as to why the Lions kept losing those games. And let's be fair, when the Lions were pretty much using these patchwork defensive secondaries over the last couple of years, it's no small wonder to understand why. We have to understand something. Up until this offseason, Brad Holmes had not invested any serious draft capital into the cornerback room. He had in terms of the safety room, but not the cornerback room. This was the first draft where he seriously invested his own draft picks into getting top cornerbacks. And then, like I said, the Lions went out and they traded a decent pick to get a solid veteran cornerback. So for the first time, the Lions could realistically say that they seriously attacked trying to fix the problem that was the cornerback room. Now, we're talking about the pass defense. Well, when you think about it, when you finally invest in a secondary that has been long needing a renovation like what the Lions got, that right there should, and again, I place heavy emphasis on this, it should be able to have a lasting solution to what has been the long Achilles heel of the Lions' defense in the past. Because let's understand what the Lions' defense has opposite of this whole thing. You have Aiden Hutchinson, who's coming into his 3rd year in the NFL, and he's become a real force in the NFL. He's become one of the best edge rushers in the NFL over the last 2 years. The safety room is stacked. It's full of talent. You have Kirby Joseph. You have Brian Branch. You have Ife Melifonwu. You also have a guy by the name of Brandon Joseph that's really starting to make waves in camp and looks like he could potentially make his way onto the roster. You take a look, like I said, at the cornerback room. It's young, it's competitive, it's feisty, it has something to prove. And then there's the rush defense. The rush defense has been reinforced with DJ Reader, and again, you have a great defensive line unit overall overall in the interior, but you also have a good 1-2 combo in rush defense in regards to linebackers. Think about it. Just in the middle of that defense, you have Lee McNeil, you have DJ Reader, you have Alex Anzalone, you have Jack Campbell. That's a pretty damn formidable, middle of a defense to try and run through. Now, when you think about all of this, Lions defense, Lions offense, and you're talking about how nightmarishly good the talent the Lions have right now, think about the teams that the Lions are going to be playing this year. And then think about it from the perspective of the 8 teams that I was talking about in the very beginning that the Lions are going to play going in to start the 2024 season. Which, again, if I recall correctly, I'm just going back in my notes to make sure I have this. You have the Rams, Bucks, the Cardinals, Seahawks, the Cowboys, Vikings, Titans, and Packers. Okay, those are our first 8 opponents, right? Well, think about this. If you take a look at some of those opponents, the Vikings, what's going on with them? Oh, they have a rookie quarterback or a journeyman quarterback as their starter. Not exactly the most ideal situation to be having when you're going up against the Detroit Lions. That's number 1. Number 2, the Rams. Okay, yeah, you got Matthew Stafford, who's still a pretty solid quarterback. You got Puka Nacua, you got Cooper Kupp. Okay, great, you got some offensive weapons. The problem with the Rams is that they have the least amount of defensive talent that they've had in years. They no longer have Jalen Ramsey. Aaron Donald, he retired. A lot of the guys that used to be staples of that Rams defense, they're gone. So that's going to be an adjustment period for the Rams. Then you take a look at the Seahawks. They have a new head coach, which is going to mean it's going to take them time to learn his scheme. It's going to take time for them to get up to speed with him because, hey, they used to have Pete Carroll as the guy, patrolling the sideline for a number of years. So that's going to take time for them to adjust to. You take a look at the Cardinals. Kyler Murray, who's their starting quarterback, he's returning from a serious injury. And I'm sorry to put it, but the Cardinals are still a very bad team overall. So I'm not too exactly worried about the Cardinals. Then you take a look at the Titans. Much like the Seahawks, they have a new head coach. They also have a first-time full starter at quarterback. Will Levis is going to get his very first chance to be a full-time starter for the Titans, which means he's still learning. He's still got stuff that he's got to get better at before you could really say that he is entrenched as the full-time starter. This is just his chance to really show he can actually do the job. Then you take a look at the Cowboys. I keep saying this, but while the Cowboys might be a talented team, the problem with the Cowboys is that they are in a pickle financially. The Cowboys were the least active team this offseason in terms of spending, and realistically, they gave no big improvements in free agency. Plus, on top of that, they're having issues trying to re-sign Dak Prescott. They're having issues trying to re-sign CeeDee Lamb. Plus, on top of that, this is the Cowboys. The Cowboys always seem to find ways to lose the most critical of games. So, again, you're looking at a Lions team that's hungry. It's got a hell of a lot of talent, which is very scary. If you realistically want to think about it, I'm going to say this. The most scary team, or the most dangerous team, rather, I should say, that the Lions are going to have to face within the first 8 weeks is not the Cowboys. It's actually probably going to be the Packers. And the reason why I say that is because, yes, the Packers did have a very good second half of the season. And if they're smart, which typically the Packers have been, as much as I don't want to say it, they typically have been as a franchise over the last 20 or so years, they would be wise to take that motivation, to take that, how do I say it? The momentum that they had from the end of 2023 into 2024. But let's understand something here. Despite all that momentum, despite the fact they really were starting to hit their groove at the end of 2023, just because the Packers are probably the most dangerous team to the Lions does not mean they are unbeatable. They are definitely beatable. They are still a team that the Lions can get the better of on any given day. And you have to understand something here. When the Packers did beat the Lions in the second half of the season, it wasn't like the Packers trounced the Lions. They only beat us by 29-22. So as far as I'm concerned, just because the Packers had a great second half of the season, like I said, it does not mean that the Lions can't beat them. The point of the matter is, when I'm talking about this entire episode, when you take a look at the talent that the Lions have, you take a look at the first 8 weeks that the Lions have, you take a look at the opponents that the Lions are playing, the point of the matter is the Lions' talent that this team has, it's absolutely terrifying for a couple of reasons. One, it's terrifying because the Lions' opponents, their rivals, already know what the Lions have on offense. It's scary, it's explosive, you're going to be hard-pressed to try and stop it. That's number one thing that's terrifying. Number two thing that's terrifying is because we already know what Brad Holmes' draft picks have been able to do in the past, right? Well, think about this. You've now added more of Brad Holmes' draft picks into the weakest area that the Lions had last year, which means the Lions should be able to see return on investment from guys like Terry and Arnold, from guys like Enos Rakestraw, and then with guys like Carlton Davis who are going to help them grow faster and get up to speed faster. That's going to make things even better. The point of the matter is that what I'm trying to get at is that our roster, the talent that we have, it should outright scare our opponents. And it should inspire confidence in our fans. Talent alone will not win a game. Everybody knows that. But think about this. The Lions have the talent to win games, but what makes them such a dangerous team, such a scary team with that talent, is we also have the team chemistry to go with it. We are a team that is so unified that we are second to none when it comes to team unity or team chemistry. That is how freaking solid of a team that we have. And when you pair that talent and you pair that chemistry, it's truly a nightmarish prospect for the entire NFL to even try and handle. The Lions are hungry. The Lions are talented. The Lions are unified. And the Lions are coming to kick some serious freaking ass. But anyway, I just wanted to put this episode together because, again, I look forward to what the Lions are going to be able to do in 2024. And I'm telling you this right now. I fully expect that there are going to be teams that are going to be like, dude, we do not want to play the Lions. We do not want to see the Lions. We do not want to come anywhere near Detroit. The bad boys are back, but in this time, they're not the Pistons. They're the Detroit Lions, and it's for an entirely different reason. But having said that, I'm going to end the episode and say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you not had a chance to do so, again, highly encourage y'all to subscribe. But I also encourage y'all, please make sure you hit that bell notification icon that's at the bottom of the page so that way you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Also encourage y'all to share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. The more we share it, the greater the channel grows, the greater reach it has, which allows it to spread even further. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the content. I hope you all have something in your life that makes you happy and makes you smile. God bless, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.